Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Teaching Symposium, and welcome to our session this morning, Pillars for Inclusive HyFlex Courses. We have a special privilege to have two excellent speakers from the University of the District of Columbia with us this morning for this presentation. And so I would like to hand it over to our speakers to introduce themselves. University of the District of Columbia.
Hello, good morning. I'll start first. Well, Fatima, you want to start first, and then I'll introduce myself. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dr. Moore. You start first. You're the
No,
boss.
so Carl Moore, currently the Assistant Chief Academic Officer here. But yes, you see my title. We are in transition, and I'll pass it over to Fatma.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Fatma Al-Shabukshi. I'm the Director of Learning Technology at the Center for the Advancement of Learning at the University of the District of Columbia. I have been in online education for the past 12 years. In this role, I assist Dr. Moore in implementing institution-wide strategies to leverage technology to advance teaching and learning. I believe learning technology plays an essential role in the learning, and more importantly, the best practices used when deploying them. I'm happy to be here, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Fatma. So yeah, as Fatma mentioned, it's really about for us, and this what gave birth to even this presentation. It's really what are our student learning outcomes, but then that is expanded to what are our business outcomes? What are we trying to do, and how can we leverage the tools that we have to accomplish those goals? And in particular, when we're looking at HyFlex, it's a mix of what we've already understood, in some ways about like flipped classrooms, time, right? Synchronous, asynchronous time, spaces, digital technology. So we're going to share with you some pillars for inclusive HyFlex courses that we've been able to kind of really distill from our practices. So overview, let's start with some considerations for inclusivity as it relates to just neurodiversity. I want to talk a little bit about the how this is providing access to learning, which is different than actual access to education. Transition into the ways in which where it actually leverages the centralizes the ways in which we should leverage our LMS. We're going to discuss some best practices and then do a Q&A with you all. So let me make sure I have my little laser pointer thingy here. All right. Well, no, I won't use that here today. So pillars, when we're looking at this pillar one, I think the most important, well, we both feel the most important element is that you, as an educator, not just an instructor or a teacher in a classic sense, that we understand that everyone's brain has a ways from their collective experiences and the ways in which their brains are wired that makes their view of the world and view of information and way of participating and engaging as unique as any of our fingerprints, right? So understanding from a neurodiverse perspective that this technology can then serve as like a bionic arm or what have you, a way of diversifying, individualizing, and meeting needs of a wider range of learners is really, really important. And it not necessarily just being about the technology, or when there is a documented variation of ability. These are for students across this any spectrum for any positionality. So as I mentioned, this whole flipped classroom approach, it actually, in terms of style of teaching, it really does promote that we are being very intentional about using the time that we have together, whether it be asynchronously, where it's like at no specific time using Blackboard or some other Web 2.0 tool or what have you, or we're actually together. How are we thinking critically about that? So that's our first pillar, the neurodiversity of learners that are engaged differently, that information is presented to them differently, and that they can show and demonstrate what they know in differing ways. That has to be the top consideration. And then once we understand that, there are specific nuances around DEI, positionality as it relates to social identity and social constructs that were created, that we can really start to understand, okay, how can this even further advantage a wider group while tending to the learning needs of that space. So that's the first pillar for us, the HyFlex neurodiversity, and considering that. The second one is that, and we think this is really important. So, of course, all of this is important. Providing access to learning with HyFlex. So I used to work in upward bound program. It's like my first higher ed role. I'm going to date myself, but this is back in like 2002, 2003. Yeah, 2002. And for me, I was excited. I was going to be a different major, but I decided to change and go into, to higher education student affairs for graduate work. But it was because I wanted to provide access to the idea of education for a wider range of inner city students, a wider range of disenfranchised or marginalized or oppressed populations. But I understood over time that being able to come into school, right, actually having an opportunity to get into the gates or be admitted is different. That's access to education, but it's different to access to learning, because even myself being a first generation college student, I wasn't actually learning all the time in the classroom. Access to learning is provided by, and this nuance of which is really important, the ways in which we leverage, certain instructional strategies and approaches to make sure that students have a chance at learning the information or that the information is accessible to them. So as you can see, technology can provide access in ways that physical environments can't, right? So there are a number of ways in which we are using the digital space to have, whether it be certain students, and whether it be introverted and I can participate in the chat area, or whether it be collaboration that can happen in synchronous or asynchronous time on Blackboard, or even certain with shared docs or something like that, or something like using a voice thread. Or so there's ways in which technology can improve in ways that physical environments can't. So this opportunity to understand content, be engaged, and be assessed is enhanced. So if you're approaching your HyFlex course in this way, I think this is a really important piece versus it being just something that you're doing for students to join, virtually and face-to-face. We want to take it a step beyond that. And then now I'm going to pass it over to Fatma, because Fatma is going to chat with you a little bit more about our last few pillars, and then we're going to take some question and answers.
So hi everyone again. That third pillar is really, I think always it should be the first, but with the flow, we thought it should be the third. So that is leveraging LMS to centralize learning. So just a little bit of background. I was the LMS administrator for 5 years. So this is one of my favorite subjects, and I continue to promote using LMS to centralize learning, not only for the HyFlex environment, but across modalities. So let's just dig deeper a bit into why centralize the LMS to advance learning. So every school determines what to incorporate into their school learning ecosystem. To think about it this way, let's think of the big picture. So to meet the schools and the learners' learning outcome and specific needs. So we all have to agree, or maybe not to, but I hope that we all, that the learning ecosystem continue to evolve. There are so many different technologies, tools, and strategies to engage learner, but adopting tools or strategies into the school learning ecosystem doesn't necessarily mean success. So I want you to imagine with me that I'm teaching a class and I'm asking my student to use Kaltura to record their final presentation. So they have to log into Kaltura. I also ask them to check LinkedIn Learning videos. So I send them the link, so they have to log in and view the videos. I want them to use a social annotation tool to annotate the syllabus, for example. So I send them the link, and I want to hold my office hours, so I shared my WebEx link. So and I send them also the PowerPoint for my class. So the question here that we want to ask ourselves is this good practice? Did incorporating technology into school learning ecosystem help to advance learning here? I would argue no, and a big no-no. Okay, so because this practice, in my opinion, lead to confusion and inefficiency. So students should focus on the content and the learning process, not to really be dragged into an endless decentralized learning ecosystem. where they have to log into many different educational technology or platform in order to do their course activity or read their content, and they have to do like scavenger hunt, where to find module 1. So centralized learning become here essential. And to do that, we must use the learning management system to be the central hub to track, deliver course material, and integrate learning technology to streamline learning and to increase student retention. And I want to put in another word. This is when the LMS become a one-stop shop and the center of the school learning ecosystem. So the student will just log into the LMS and can do everything within the LMS. Within their course site, they will be able to do everything. So in my experience at UDC, we incorporate Kaltura, LinkedIn Learning, Hypothesis, WebEx, Zoom, and the list can go on within our Blackboard Ultra. And we have successfully merged to transfer all UDC Blackboard Ultra to become, we successfully really made our UDC Blackboard Ultra to become the hub for the school learning ecosystem. And if we have a tool that doesn't have an integration, for example, I forgot the tool that we just integrated. It's an assessment.
Qualtrics.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Moore. What we did is we created a link within the LMS so the student don't even have to go outside the LMS. And the link inside the LMS and with a single sign-on, so it will be a little bit more streamlined. And with this, we're going to go to our next slide. What are the best practices when we facilitate a HyFlex course? And we have been talking a lot, and I want to have this as a discussion, but unfortunately that platform doesn't allow us to speak on the mic. So please add your comment here and in the chat, and let us know how you. I lost.
You saw that comment.
I'm reading the comment at the same time. Trying to
that's an entirely different workshop, but it's a really important point in terms of you can have all of these items, as Jared mentioned. Jared mentioned that they put everything in the LMS, but yet students still go search for their own YouTube videos on YouTube. So it's like you can't beat them, join them. It's like, remember we used to say no phones in class, and now we're like, what? You can use them. So making an integration to YouTube, like, some kind of simple integration to YouTube may be a really good thing there. But I'm sorry, Fatma, it just was a funny comment.
It is. Blackboard Ultra and also Blackboard 901 has a seamless integration to YouTube.
Yep. So, there you go.
Most of our educational tool is really integrated to an LMS. And if I'm speaking for Blackboard specifically, it really have most of the integration. And sometimes if you create a ticket behind Blackboard and you will ask them, they will work on it maybe in 2 or 3 months or so. I hope I'm correct, Monica. I've been asked about the Microsoft and it went to work. So, so I want to ask a question about learner engagement best practices. I personally believe that a learner-centered classroom is a key. So let me ask you a question. What tool or method do you deploy to ensure learner engagement into your HyFlex course?
Y'all can enter those into the chat, and I'll read some of them off. I know you can see them as well. I'll read them off as they come. We don't see any yet, though. Let me know when you see some. Embedding, we have embedding as your friend. We have why YouTube videos in the courses. So these as in response to your question of what people use to engage their learners.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we can also deploy what Blackboard have. For example, I'm just speaking specifically about Blackboard because that's what we have. We can also use discussion board. where the remote student you will create a discussion and you will ask the remote student and the in-person student, they will interact during the class on doing so everything housed in the LMS, so it will really be accessible after your class ends.
Yeah, and we have here polls, TED Talks, Mentimeter, as a type of polling software. So yes, there were some more that came in as well.
Yeah, I love Mentimeter. We have David Cerna. I think he's he's from the audience, and he loves Mentimeter. He taught us Mentimeter, and we're using it in every single webinar. I think it's such a great tool, and it's easy to embed it in the LMS. So we don't have to create a link and we just send it in the chat. We can create it within the module in Blackboard, so the student can have it after the class ends.
Yeah, and Fatma, the one thing I want to tease out here is what Carolyn had mentioned, and I think especially as it relates to HyFlex, breakout rooms between remote and in-person students, so important to encourage that learner-learner engagement, and that's what the LMS allows you to do when you centralize it more, but in a very synchronous way. So I really appreciate that comment, because I mean, this gets into the way in which your room is set up, et cetera, but what we have our learners do is our learners that are in person also they're on a laptop as well, so that facilitates that even more seamless, to where there's this kind of like there's this like gray space of like, the physical space, people are online, and you have the people who are on the laptops, whether they're in person or far. So that's another really good
and
one.
I agree with you, Dr. Moore, and HyFlex has more component than face-to-face or even online, because it's combined between both of them. So usually faculty will assign a TA to assist in HyFlex courses. And in addition, I think they should consider establishing rotating student role with clear expectations, such as somebody to somebody to monitor the chat. These roles can be assigned to different students in each class. It doesn't have to be every single time the same student. And I think, in my opinion, that will distribute responsibility, that will increase actually inclusion.
Yes. I love that roles. And when you were designing the training, you and David, this past summer, it seems like time's flying by. Having that component, I remember one of the faculty members reporting, because they were stuck, like, okay, so what am I going to do? And that was a really great solution for a number of the concerns, even the concern of the provost as well. Just making sure, because we don't have TAs in our classes. So whether you have your TAs or you don't, it really helps. The one other comment I'll mention, Fatma, because I don't know if you want me to go to this next slide or not, is the video-based assignments is also another piece. And Go React is one tool that's being used. There's so many other tools. I don't want to kind of promote one tool or the other. So just kind of read that out to you all. Well, would you like me to go to the next slide, or
no? We're still gonna address the technology and training support.
Okay,
because,
great.
for example, faculty, we have to acknowledge with the HyFlex, faculty have in order to teach HyFlex, faculty have to have good computer skill to conduct HyFlex courses. They need to be familiar with and not only familiar, it's have excellent video conferencing skills. So faculty should also be able to troubleshoot basic computer issue or internet connectivity. So I believe the school LMS should be also up to date. So for example, when the pandemic hit us, we were on Blackboard 901, and we had like 2.5 years plan to upgrade the Ultra. But because of the pandemic, and we noticed that we have a lot of students can't really access their LMS from different devices, so we opt to upgrade to Ultra to encourage student engagement, because as you know, Ultra is a responsive design, so student can log in from any device. So I wonder how many of you have Ultra versus Blackboard 901.
Y'all can put that in the chat area. It's not quite a poll, but thank you for having us transition over to Blackboard Ultra, Fatma. Well, maybe actually, I think allowing us to. Is anyone still on 9.1? If you are, we would like to hear in the chat area. Like I am, or we are. Maybe you're in your institutions name. Anyone still on
And we
9.1?
would love, if you need any help with the transition, we're more than happy to share with you our plan. It was really, instead of 2 years and a half plan, we made it in almost, I would say, 7 months. And everybody is trained on Ultra now. And actually, the faculty are digging deep to the tools and not just scratching the surface.
Yeah, and Fatma, just to kind of gloat about your leadership here in terms of the intentionality and the going farther together, right, versus fast moving a little bit. There's tons there. I could say a lot, but I want to make sure to be mindful of the amount of time that we have. And just look in the chat area, it seems like there's a good mix, and some people are in between. And this is an entire other workshop, right, to the considerations. But I think the most important piece is making sure that we centralize two things for me, and I would love to hear from you, Fatma, on this. The learning, about how the new, Ultra or whatever is going to allow for greater opportunities for learn and facilitation of learning, number one, for the students, but then also the learning and professional development component that is necessary, not just for faculty, but for all of the different key stakeholders who will be using the tool at your institution. So would you say anything, what else would you say about the Ultra thing, since we opened up that door and there are some people who aren't quite there yet?
Yeah, I would just agree with you about the professional development in terms of training and support. I think to successfully adopt this HyFlex classroom model, faculty need to be trained on the school learning ecosystem. And also the school have to provide good support system so that the heavy load doesn't fully entirely on the faculty shoulder. So they have chat for the support, they have in-house support if there's anything happen, and this is really essential when we talk about HyFlex classroom.
Perfect.
And I think by this, Dr. Moore, we can conclude our presentation, and in closing, we hope that you found the ideas we shared today are helpful, and you will be able to incorporate some of them in your classroom or your school learning ecosystem. And now we are opening for Q&A.
Yeah, and I'm proud of us. We did good on time, right, Monica? We wanted to leave about 10 minutes for Q&A. I don't know where we are with that.
Yep, you did great on time. And I have to tell the participants that we did not ask you to promote Ultra.
Oh, right. Wait, time out. I received a check, Monica. I don't know about Fatma, but I received. It was direct deposit. No, I'm just kidding.
So that was a surprise. We did not know you were going to talk about Ultra, but that's great to hear how helpful it was. There is one question. Estelle Drysdale mentioned that at her institution, they rely heavily on groups because some of their classes are really big, more than 300 students. So they were wondering if you use groups in Ultra Course View. And I also would we just remind the other participants, please add questions, feedback, your own best practices there in the chat. I know there are a few of you I know personally who are here who are also using Ultra, who might have some suggestions to share. So please add those in the chat. So
yeah, we do.
Ultra.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. This is really spot on. The group in Ultra Course View is a bit different, and I know why you're asking this, because it's very different than Blackboard 901 group. And the group in Ultra is a little bit, the faculty have really to factor in the planning side, because it doesn't have a page where the student can log in and submit their files and discussion board. The faculty have to really think, how can I communicate with the group, and how they're going to do their assignment. So one of the things that we suggested, so every group will have a folder, and from this folder they can access the discussion, the assignment, and please feel free, we can talk offline. I will throw my email in the chat, so more than happy to assist and tell you what we did to help our faculty.
Thank you. And people are asking too, if there are any books you recommend on HyFlex, or any other speakers or people to follow?
Yeah, I'll drop one in the chat area. I think, and I kind of view this gentleman as like one of the original kind of HyFlex person. It's Beatty's, and I'll put it in the chat area. The hybrid courses with flexible participation, that's a really good one. So it's like a course design, HyFlex from a course design perspective. But Fatma, I know that there was tons of additional research that had to be done in what we have in our course. I know you could probably list the laundry list of other readings as well, but that's one of the seminal texts there in terms of HyFlex, and like one of the original individuals that were speaking about it in the field.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to note, Dr. Coltman from Monroe College in my hometown in the Bronx noted that the new Ultra integration of groups with Collaborate Ultra is really great. So that new integration where you can have groups in Learn Ultra that now link up to the Collaborate groups. So I know a lot of people are excited about that.
Yeah, we don't use Blackboard Ultra Collaborate much. The adoption rate for our WebEx, I'm sorry, for Zoom is much higher than Blackboard Collaborate. So, but this is great to know. I would love to know more about that.
Yeah,
I put a note and I will search it more. Maybe for the faculty who are using the group in their courses, it might be better for them to use Collaborate Ultra. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and on that note, I think one thing that is actually really provided us an opportunity for it's like enhancing the digital literacy of faculty members to leverage different web conferencing, right? So it's like, okay, we have the LMS, that's fine. You only have one, you don't have a 30 LMS or whatever. But as it relates to the web conferencing tool that's being used, and for what the objectives are in the course, our faculty members can choose between a few different ones now. As Fatma mentioned, Zoom, WebEx, Blackboard, and because of the whole HyFlex wave, or because of this kind of like piloting that we were doing in the space that we're in, we found that to be super helpful. But it's interesting though, because I know that we're at a Blackboard conference, Monica, right? So it's like, no, use Collaborate. This is the only thing that I would say personally, as it relates to just kind of like takes it out. It's like literally being able to think for me, I always promote the mode neutral thinking, like, okay, it doesn't matter about the mode. What are the outcomes, and how can we use real synchronous time or asynchronous time? And then what is the teaching and learning? How can we use these tools? Knowing we have to use the LMS, okay, great. But then it may be that you have WebEx works better for some faculty members. And what's interesting about that for learners is that if they're in a school where they have to have that agility, it actually provides them with better digital literacy and 21st century skills, but only if you have the proper training components. Whether you're using WebEx, Blackboard, Collaborate, Zoom, or whatever, if you don't have it built in to ways to teach the faculty and the learners about it, you can kind of be going down a wrong path. So I think that's really important no matter what you use, especially if you're using a combination like we have. And Fatma, with her leadership, we've been like, okay, all right, although we have Zoom, we're going to focus on Teams and Teams and WebEx this year. And then, so we've been kind of sequencing out, but making them available, but sequencing out the training. Fatma, did I say that correctly? To honor your.
Yeah, we're trying to be.
Like, hold up, Dr. Moore, hold up.
We're trying to be tool agnostic, so they don't have the faculty or our student. They don't have to just be expert in Collaborate, but in general, video conferencing tools. So it's really aligned with our learning outcome. When they go to the workplace, they will be able to, like now, everybody probably know how to use that platform. We never heard of it, but probably because we have been using conferencing tools for the past year and a half. So any platform you will throw at us, it will work with us. And actually, we start to criticize it. So actually, it helped the learner and the faculty to really enhance their skills. They don't have to be hooked to a different technology. Different product, a certain product.
That's great. Well, it looks like the comments have slowed down. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes. We have a few minutes left, and so I'm going to wait to see if any more comments or feedback pop in. But it looks like people are just talking about the different things that they use, and supporting your point of having that flexibility is really helpful. And thank you for sharing the book again. I also, as we're waiting for more questions to come in, we have about 5 minutes left. I also want to remind everyone of the networking breaks that we have at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I know we're on all different parts of the world, but it's 12:30 Eastern. We have networking breaks where you can actually have a chance to come on mic and speak about some of these things as well. So please check the agenda for the networking sessions that may be of interest to you. I know I will be hosting one on the best and worst of remote teaching, the lessons that we've learned from that. There's going to be one on personalized learning experiences, another one on creative ways to keep students engaged, one on goals and assessments, and I think there are a couple of others as well. Oh, quality courses as well. So take a look at those, because that would be a great chance to keep speaking with your colleagues here and sharing more.
Yeah, and then I just have one response to a question about attendance and HyFlex. I like to traditionally promote through participation, encourage the, verification of participation through actual assignments. It'd be an assignment based, and it's no definite HyFlex, but we do, the chairs and deans in their different colleges do have different ways of doing that we don't kind of implement, broadly or kind of institute broadly, but it really should be connected to what they're doing. Because you can have a student show up and take their attendance and them not do anything, but it'd be more assignment based. And it definitely provides you great opportunity doing that in HyFlex through your assignments. So that's my response to that question. So thank you for asking that. I think that was Jody on there.
Oh, yes, that's great. Yeah, the question was on if there's still an attendance requirement with HyFlex. And that is a great strategy. I'm going to share that with other clients who ask.
Yes, you always want to be assignment based, even when we were face to face. You can have folks show up and just be spaced out the entire time and not necessarily. So just showing up doesn't show anything, but there is, credit that some folks give just for the showing up, and I don't want to throw any shade at that part. I think that's fine.
And also the engagement piece, Dr. Moore. So if we ask the student just to be on camera and just listen, they're probably listening to music and not listening to anything. So, but and instead, if I laid out my course to be really engaging, so they know that they have to be alert. So we've been here for 35 minutes. We're alert. So how we can keep our student engaged, and this is when the technology comes into play. And this is what it comes also time commitment, that the faculty have to really put time to learn, to spend more time to plan the activity. If the activity well planned for the HyFlex, for the in-person and the virtual, to make them both have to interact together, it would be a very interactive classroom. But if we're gonna just do the lecture side, nope, they will be sleeping.
And Jacinth, I don't know if I'm saying the name correctly, Jacinth, I like this naming and approach mentioned, and this is Jacinth Coltman. Their attendance is based on submissions only. And that's a really good way of framing it. It's like submissions. What did you submit? Like encouraging that active learning. So that's pretty great.
Yeah, and just to add to this, I think we didn't mention it in the previous slide, the time commitment and planning. Teaching online often take more time than face-to-face instruction. So teaching HyFlex is kind of equivalent to teaching online, because basically you will have to design your course as if it's entirely online. So we will spend more time producing content, planning activity, and content layout in the school LMS to reduce confusion. So all these elements contribute ensuring that the HyFlex is effective and inclusive classroom.
Monica, I have so much to. Fatma and I could go back and forth, and Riff, I just wanted to be honored the time.
Yes. But this has been a wonderful session. I'm sure everyone will agree. You've given, as Linda's saying, you've given her a lot to think about, and I think all of us a lot to think about and to read. Thank you so much. I was very excited for this session and feel very lucky that I got to be the moderator today.
Thank you,
and I hope that I see some of you at the networking sessions coming up this afternoon. And thank you all for joining so much.
Yes, thank you all.
And I stayed in the frame. Have you noticed?
Yeah, you did a really good job. I'm thinking my frame got smaller, so I'm thinking I'm the one that was out, but you did a good job, Fatma.
My hair filling the space.
Yeah, right.
All right.
All right, thanks, y'all.
Thank
Thanks for
you,
your
Monica.
questions
Thank you,
and
everybody.
comments. Thanks.